In this episode of Sea Power, we investigate the lineage of ships through the second, third and fourth generations of development since World War II. The Second World War set forth staggering advancements in traditional maritime warfare practices and technologies. The close of World War II was the dawning of a new conflict, the Cold War, and although no serious shots were fired, the world was ill at ease as the major players continued to develop and perfect their nuclear delivery systems. Like the Second World War, the Cold War was also a catalyst for conventional warfare development. Today, a single fourth-generation destroyer-class vessel has more firepower than an entire fleet of World War II battleships. Technology after the Second World War moved so quickly that today we have third-generation naval-class ships and are already moving into the fourth generation of vessels. After World War II, the focus was on nuclear bomb delivery and was the major priority of the superpowers, and the future role of the naval fleet was much questioned. It became evident very quickly that nuclear bombs would not replace the fleets, as most new conflicts were not going to warrant the devastation or the fallout a nuclear attack would invoke. The modern war remained more likely to be traditional, and therefore conventional weapons also received sweeping development. The Cold War was a standoff, and although nuclear armament was advancing, the conventional armed forces also developed at neck-breaking speed.
50 seconds. There it goes. No.
Shack.
Through the F-shack.
There they go. Got a good hit. Luger octane 370.
Today, a large contingent would contain many vessels and include carriers, frigates and destroyers. Replenishing vessels are also assigned and play an important role in keeping the battle group on station for extended periods. As the development moved into third-generation naval ships, a German company developed the MECO system of ship construction. The development of the three basic design principles were modularity, improvement in survivability, and signature reduction. Today, the MECO system is still subject to continuous optimization. MECO platforms are designed specifically for the varied development of standardized module weapons, electronics, and the ship's technical equipment, which, in addition, are connected with the power supply, the air conditioning and ventilation system. All the components needed to run a specific system are accommodated in a single module. Depending on the particular task they are required to perform, a distinction is made between weapons, electronics, and the ship's technical modules. Containers, pallets, and mast modules are installed during the construction phase. To the customer, modularity means an immense range of choice in the selection of the onboard systems, whether it be with regard to the integration of customer-supplied systems or the use of products that the customer already has in service from various manufacturers. This principle of dedicated sectional design has been the subject of continuous refinement and expansion throughout the last 30 years of its development. In later examples, the infrared signature has been significantly reduced by dispensing with stacks and instead conducting the exhaust to the rear. Seawater spraying into the exhaust pipes, now arranged horizontally, lowers the emission temperature to less than 100 degrees Celsius. The MECO system made it possible to retrofit and convert the ships without difficulty in the shortest possible time and at a competitive cost. This is an early MECO 360 class destroyer. The Almirante Brown is an Argentinian destroyer, and she was built by Bowman Voss in Hamburg from 1978 and was launched on March the 28th, 1981. Here, the vessel is undergoing sea trials. Sea trials are conducted to test all the systems and mechanical equipment. When the ship has passed these tests, the customer takes delivery and conducts trials of their own agenda, which may take as long as 12 months to complete. The Almirante Brown was the first of this class to be put into service and is armed with 8 Aerospatial Exocet MM-40 missiles, 1 OTO Melara 5-inch gun, 8 Bofor 40mm guns, 6 324mm torpedo tubes and 2 Breeder 105mm S-Class chaff rocket launchers. She is powered by 2 Rolls-Royce Olympus TM3B gas turbines, which provide 51,600 shp and a top speed of 30.5 knots with a range of 7,200 kilometres. She carries 2 Aerospatial SA-319B Alouette 3 helicopters for anti-submarine defence and has a crew of 26 officers and 174 men. Based on a modified German MECO 200 design, the 10 Anzac-class frigates are the major surface units of the Royal Australian Navy and Royal New Zealand Navy. The vessels were built using modular construction techniques. Hull and superstructure modules were built in both New Zealand and Australia, and the final fit-out was conducted at the Williamstown shipyards in Melbourne, Australia. Australia made further modifications to their vessels. An upward creep in ship manning led the RAN to undertake a habitability upgrade study. Additional restructuring to the Marine Engineering Department resulted in a change in the rank and billet structure, creating a need to rework some habitation areas. Hospitability upgrades were intended to provide added flexibility for additional training bunks, force protection personnel, special operations personnel and mixed genders on board the ships by increasing the ship's berthing by 11 up from the standard 174 berths. HMAS Arunta completed her upgrade and remaining units will follow. The Harpoon anti-ship missile is being fitted to Australian units. Work was completed on the first upgraded ship, HMAS Warramunga, in 2004. For a number of reasons related to operational considerations and the electronic environment, the Harpoon installation was relocated from its reserve space and weight position on O2 deck to a position on O1 deck forward of the bridge. Remaining units will be upgraded in due course. The Australian Defence Department decided to upgrade their Anzacs even before all ships were completed. The upgraded configuration includes AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles fitted in 2 quad launchers, evolved Sea Sparrow missiles quad packed in VLS enabling 32 missiles to be carried, 4 Nulka active missile decoys, and the petrol mine and obstacle avoidance sonar system. All upgrades and new builds are scheduled for completion by 2006. Subsequent upgrades will focus on anti-ship missile defence. Newcastle is a long-range escort, with roles including area air defence, anti-submarine warfare, surveillance, reconnaissance and interdiction. The ship is capable of countering simultaneous threats from the air, surface and subsurface. Powered by modern gas turbines, the ship can be underway from coal in 30 minutes. In addition, two forward-mounted retractable auxiliary propulsion units provide a secondary means of propulsion, plus excellent manoeuvrability in confined waters. Newcastle's principal weapons are the standard medium-range air-to-air missile and the Harpoon anti-ship missile. The ship is also equipped with a 76mm gun and the most effective of the close-in weapon systems, the Phalanx. Phalanx provides ships of many nations with a last chance defence against anti-ship missiles. Phalanx production started in 1978 with orders for 23 USN and 14 foreign military sales systems. Phalanx is the only deployed close-in weapon system capable of autonomously performing its own search, detect, evaluation, track, engage and kill assessment functions. For long-range anti-submarine tasks, the ship is equipped with a flight deck and two hangars for two S-70B-2 Seahawk helicopters. The ship's sensor package includes long-range radars for air and surface surveillance and is the second FFG to be fitted with the Australian-designed and built Molokar sonar. The Type 22 frigates were built in 3 batches. The latter 2 batches improved on the previous one. Intended to replace the Leander-class frigates, the early Type 22 ships were primarily designed for the anti-submarine role.
With stews.
The first 2 batches were the first and so far only British warships to delete a main gun from the design. The first 2 ships were built with an alternate funnel design and without torpedo tubes. The last 4 Batch 2 members were designed to carry either 2 Lynx helicopters or a single Sea King or EH-101 helicopter. The Batch 3 ships were further lengthened and incorporated for the first time a 4.5-inch gun forward in place of the Exocet launchers on the earlier batches. Although retaining the 2 Seawolf launchers, Exocet was replaced with 8 Harpoon launchers. These ships also include command facilities. As of 2005, all Batch 1 and 2 ships have been paid off and most have been sold or scrapped. Only the 4 Batch 3 ships remain in active service. Carrier development is slower than destroyer and frigate classes. The French Navy's conventionally powered Clemencia is typical of a post-World War II aircraft carrier, and due to the cost remained in service until 1997, after serving for 36 years. She was laid down in November 1955, launched in December 1957 and commissioned in November 1961. She's replaced by a 4th generation aircraft carrier called Charles de Gaulle. The air group was at one time made up of about 40 planes, and as aviation advances took place, the carrier's inventory of aircraft changed. A typical contingent included 2 Eurocopter Dolphin Pedro helicopters, 2 Super Freelon helicopters, and 4 Dassault Étenard IVPs. 8 Vought Crusaders gave the carrier its all-weather interception capability. Plans were considered to upgrade the Crusader to the F-18 Hornet. 8 single-prop Breguet-Elise aircraft that were used mainly as submarine killers. They were armed with lightweight torpedoes, depth charges, and a variety of air-to-surface weapons. The Clemenceau was the 8th aircraft carrier of the French Navy, and from the 60s to the 90s, she was the backbone of the French Navy, along with her sister ship, the Foch. During her career, she sailed more than 1 million nautical miles in 3,125 days at sea, on all the seas of the world. Her main missions included 1982 to 1984, the Civil War in Lebanon, 1987 to 1988, Iran-Iraq War, 1990, the First Gulf War, and from 1993 to 1996, the war in Yugoslavia. The Super Étenard had been developed in parallel with the new air-launched version of the Aerospatiale's anti-shipping missile, the AN-39 Exocet, and these were supplied to Argentina as well. At the time of the Falklands War, Argentina had taken delivery of 5 Super Étenards and 5 Exocets. All 5 of the missiles were used during the conflict. Britain, along with the USSR, took a different track in carrier design and built vessels that evolved around vertical takeoff and landing fighter bombers. The Invincible-class aircraft carrier is a design currently in use by the Royal Navy. There are 3 carriers of this class in operation: HMS Invincible, HMS Illustrious, and HMS Ark Royal. The class design was for an escort carrier class and for anti-submarine warfare with 6 helicopters and command capability. The helicopter load was then increased to 9, and the vessel was again redesigned to a 19,500-ton carrier. The successful development of the Sea Harrier meant that the plan was reworked again to include a small complement of these STOVL aircraft. Prior to 1982, Invincible's air group consisted purely of Sea King anti-submarine aircraft and Sea Harrier aircraft. Typically, 9 Sea Kings and 4 or 5 Sea Harriers were embarked. This was due to the fact that the original envisioned mission for the ships was to provide the heart of the ASW Hunter killer groups in the North Atlantic during a war against the Soviet Union. In that context, the main weapon of the carrier would not be its fighter aircraft, but its ASW helicopters. The fighters were on board to shoot down the occasional Soviet maritime patrol aircraft nosing around the ships and its escorts. The Falklands War changed all of that, since it proved that Britain still needed to retain the capability to use carrier air power in its traditional role of power protection, both over land and against enemy fleets. It became clear after the war that the Harrier should be a permanent feature of the 3 carriers. Another addition was a new type of Sea King, airborne early warning version. Illustrious carried the first examples of the type when it was rushed south in the aftermath of the Falklands to relieve Invincible of its guard duty around the islands. In the aftermath of the Falklands, the typical air group was 3 AEW Sea Kings, 9 ASW Sea Kings, and 8 or 9 Sea Harriers. In more recent years, 3 other changes have occurred. One of those was the removal of the Sea Dart system, creating an increased deck parking for aircraft. The ships have also been fitted to handle the new Merlin helicopters in the Carrier Airborne ASW role. Recently, Invincible was decommissioned and will remain mothballed until 2010. Illustrious is planned to decommission in 2012 and Ark Royal in 2015. As 2 new much larger aircraft carriers are planned. Britain has recently declared its plans to acquire 2 new 4th generation carriers. The new deal means BAE Systems will build 2 supercarriers along with Thales, a French company. Most of the work will be carried out in various UK shipyards. The vessels will be built in several sections before bringing them together for final assembly and fitting in Scotland. The 60,000-tonne carriers will be the biggest British warships ever built and are approximately 3 times the size of the current Invincible-class carriers. They will rank alongside the most formidable and complex weapon systems deployed by any country in the world. An example of the latest 4th generation of warship is the USS Winston S. Churchill. It is the US Navy's newest and most advanced warship. The USS Winston S. Churchill is the first warship to be named after a foreign leader since the American War of Independence in 1776. She is perhaps the world's most powerful destroyer. A 700 million pound ship with the equivalent power of an entire fleet of Second World War battleships. Her mission is to conduct prompt, sustained combat operations at sea. The 9,600-tonne warship has a crew of 350 American officers on board. The ship's name celebrates the close relationship between the US and Britain and demonstrates the ongoing affinity of such a strong coalition.